Welcome to Season 1, Episode 22 of Digital Dissection, where we take a closer and possibly unnecessary look at our favorite properties. For the next 2 weeks, we're covering the prolific careers of Trey Parker and Matt Stone. From humble beginnings to Broadway, they're masters of comedy, music, and staying true to themselves.
And before we find out if it's a spadoinkle day, create a professional sport, or back our way into the main role of a national pornographic phenomena, we are Joe, Mark, and Chelsea, three friends who love talking pop culture and bringing our passion for our favorite properties directly to your ears.
And if you got here today by accident, which some people typically do, try searching for us by typing in Digital Dissection in our podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're not following podcast websites, you can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter by searching at Digital Dissect 1. Our social media sites share more pop culture news and current information. We're also kicking off contests and giveaways on Twitter, so stay tuned for future events. So we're talking Trey Parker and Matt Stone history this week, guys.
Yeah,
that's pretty fun. These two dudes just making us laugh for what, almost 2 decades now, or have we hit the 2-decade mark?
we're well over that.
We're almost to 3 decades, Joe.
Yeah.
Where does the time go? Whew.
Yeah. Like we've gone from not being able to buy eat our own cigarettes to we need to go buy Just for Men now. That's how long we've been.
Yeah, we do. That's where we are
watching these guys.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, Chelsea. You wouldn't use Just for Men unless you wanted to.
You could,
I guess.
Up to you.
Yeah.
Can always use some thicker, more luxurious hair.
I use it on the beard. Yeah.
No one can tell.
No one can tell.
Gel, which is not a sponsor, by the way.
Not a sponsor of this podcast, but will likely be our first. Now that we've thrown them out there, yeah, we'll get those guys. Why not? We'll give them a buck.
We just gave them their next idea. It's Just for Men, but then there's 3 dots afterward because it could be for someone else, not just men.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Inclusive.
Well, why pigeonhole yourself into that one part of the market? Just expand, diversify.
You're literally missing out on 50% of the market.
Yeah, what are you thinking?
Well, speaking of that market, they dictated what we were going to talk about today because we've been running some stuff on Twitter. For those of you that don't like Twitter, I get it. I really do. It can be a bottomless pit in a lot of ways, but sometimes the pit smiles back, and that's how we got this topic. So yeah, we're talking Trey Parker and Matt Stone's career, and we're splitting it up because they've done movies and they've done TV, and they're very specific about not doing movies anymore. So the content that we have is I would say it's very special that we even have it, because they just hate working in movies.
Which really interesting. I wonder, do they? I'm sure they've said why they're vocal about the stuff they do.
It's mostly about having to coordinate herding cats. It's something along those lines. But I think
probably has to be a lot more demanding, I would assume.
Yeah, exactly. Managing a girlfriend and a wife. Who has time for that? Seriously.
No.
Not that I know anything about that, but
no. I mean, of the 3 of us here, you're the only one in the position to actually have to try and juggle that whole scenario.
I was thinking more about Seinfeld, where George tries to do it, but
Oh yeah.
But either way. But hey, why don't we start at the beginning, right? We've got these two gentlemen, and I thought it would be a good place to start. We just talk a little bit about Trey Parker and his beginning, right? Trey Parker would grow up being a big fan of Monty Python in the theater. He was one of those kids that was consistently looked to as a comedian, or kind of the the center of gravity with his friend groups. And Joe, you're nodding along because you're yep, that's me.
I wasn't gonna say it. I'd leave that up to interpretation of everyone else. I don't know, but I mean, people are laughing, having a good time.
Who are you to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the largest mass in the galaxy, everything is gravitating around this guy right here. So, yeah, that was Trey Parker, though. He was basically just like what Ra's al Ghul says to Batman in Batman Begins. He was all about the theatricality. The guy loved the theater, and so that would lead to him creating what was called the Dentist.
Yeah. Also adamant about his footing, I believe.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Don't sacrifice footing for a killing stroke.
No. Bad idea.
But yeah, dude, Trey Parker's like one of his first live action performances was a play he wrote called The Dentist, and it involved the things that could go wrong in the dentist chair.
Oh.
Which I think could be really funny on a sketch comedy show or maybe even Saturday Night Live, right? But not in front of grade school students and kindergartners.
Ooh, tough audience, tough sell there. If you're going all basically like, I don't know, is this like a Sweeney Todd, but as the dentist thing? Or is this more of a everything happens to go wrong on one day sort of thing?
The reviews was that there was so much blood that Trey Parker said, fake blood, by the way. But,
okay.
But he said, yeah, it wasn't something that the kindergartners needed to see. And so, yeah, there were some upset parents and teachers. And yeah, Trey Parker got sent to the principal's office that day.
Probably not for the first or last time.
No.
I have to imagine that with his sense of humor, that he was definitely a repeat offender or a regular visitor, however you want to phrase that or package it.
If anything, it's just confidence to know that Trey Parker was always this way. Like he didn't have an origin story. He's just been like this out of the box. And that was pretty much his whole life going through grade school into high school. The guy would be spending most of his weekends and free time making short films. And at the age of 17, I believe, he actually made his first album called Immature, a collection of love ballads for the 80s man.
I'm already hooked. I already love it. Haven't heard a single thing, but I'm in.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, this guy is just, it's just like in Zombieland, where Emma Stone, she says that, Bill Murray, he just taps into my funny bone. That's how Trey Parker just has been with me ever since I've seen anything he's done. But his first, I wouldn't call it a full feature film, but his first non-made on a weekend as a teenager film in film school was called The Giant Beavers of Southern Sri Lanka. And this 1989, it was 1989. And Joe basically envisioned beavers as Godzilla destroying towns. And that's
I'm in. I'm hooked. You make giant monsters or giant robots, I'm sold. You don't have to really pitch that to me at all. You just give it to me and I'll watch it. And then suddenly we've got giant beavers attacking Sri Lanka. I don't need a reason. I'll watch it. Just give me some popcorn. Down.
Yeah. In the notes here, I couldn't find out if they were located in Sri Lanka or if they were from Sri Lanka, but I'm either way.
Yeah,
either way I'm in.
Fun fact of that movie, I do believe Nick Cage did star in it. That right up his alley. Young Nick Cage just right there. Right after his I think what Nick Cage's first movie he did was him running around in a toga doing something. I think trying to get girls. Awful. I don't know. I was told that by my high school social studies teacher. Yep. It was a heated conversation one day that I used to purposely distract him on days that we had got to take tests to give everyone time to cram. I would just distract him with something. It's like, hey, Felska, what's the last Nick Cage movie you saw? It's funny story about Nicolas Cage. Yep.
Well, we'll check that out for the Cage match.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Golden Age Cage.
It's coming. Yep. Yep. 2 men enter. One leaves very happy about their Nick Cage. Yeah. So Trey Parker, though, definitely a thespian, definitely a man of expression, and so the rest of his teenage years would be spent either being in the lead role of community-led productions. I mean, he led the choir at his school. He was even, I think, prom king his senior year because of just how popular he was with all the stuff he was involved in. He was playing piano, making films. I mean, he was basically doing what Russell Crowe was doing on South Park. Making movies, making songs. I just don't think he was on the tugboat, but whatever.
That's
fighting around the world.
You testicle.
Tugga.
So yeah, Trey Parker, that's kind of the early snapshot of him. Matt Stone, what's kind of funny was when I was reading into Matt Stone several different times, obviously both of them took influences from their parents and put it straight into South Park, right?
Oh, yeah.
But what I thought was really funny about Trey Parker was that there's not a whole lot, Matt Stone. There's not a whole lot known on Matt Stone except for his dad telling him once they moved to Colorado at an early age, he was encouraged by his dad to not be a musician and a bum. So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the old "get a real job, you deadbeat."
Yeah, those were the words of advice to live by.
No, my parents gave me very similar things whenever they saw like anything. Like I think it was in like one play in high school, like, son, you're really good, but don't let that get to your head. You still have to get a job someday. I'm like, oh, thanks. I appreciate that advice, Dad.
Yeah. Yeah. And unfortunately, since I don't personally know Matt Stone, none of them responded to our messages for this episode, which is fine. They're busy. Which is
okay. They got stuff to do.
Yeah, we won't take that personally.
No. They have like 4 days to make a cartoon, which if you think that sounds like a lot of time, it is not a lot of time.
Yeah. But for Matt Stone, most of the story, or the history in this case, starts about him going to the University of Colorado Boulder, which is where him and Trey Parker would meet. And so there he would actually encounter Trey Parker because he took his father's advice and he majored in the mathematics side, right? Not being a bum, not being a musician. But then he would also major in film while he was there.
Ooh.
So that's where these roads begin to intersect. So yeah, that was basically it. Don't be a bum, and all of a sudden we've got these two guys, chance encounters. But yeah. So the first movie between Trey Parker and Matt Stone, it would actually happen while they were at the University of Colorado at Boulder, and it would go by the working title Alfred Packer the Musical. So does anyone here know who Alfred Packer is?
I can ballpark that one. He, I believe, was overshadowed by the Donner Party for his actions of being marooned by an avalanche in Colorado. And if you are aware of the Donner Party and what they're famous for, Packer did it first. He was basically the hipster of that whole thing. It's like, yeah, I was eating people before it was cool, man. Like this is that's my fun history moment. Like it's like my Uncharted thing in my head. Like every time a history question pops up, I've got that ass hat from the second game going, "Are you a student of history, Mr. Drake?" I'm like, yeah, I've read a book or two. Yep, fucking Lazar bitch.
That actually saves me from having to explain it, which is great. So I don't have to do it nearly as much. So yeah, it's kind of like local legend, right? Like people in the area know the story in like Utah, Colorado, and like the bordering states area, because yeah, it is like the Cannibal story. This guy's supposedly leading a group of miners to, better profits and to a better location to mine gold. Along the way, they end up getting lost. Some of them freeze to death, and they got to eat each other to survive.
Yeah, there's a song about building a snowman in there, also done before it was cool. So good on them.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. We'll get to that in a moment. But so they come up with this idea. Trey Parker and Matt Stone do. They film a trailer for it, and actually like the university film department's president would catch wind of this because like the students were clamoring for it. They all loved it. And so he pushes Trey Parker and Matt Stone and says, make the movie. Seriously, make the movie. We'll
do the whole thing.
We'll do some fundraising. We'll get some money rounded up, ask your friends and family. And so they end up raising about, I think it's $125,000.
Which, I
And,
mean, movie terms, that can't make a whole lot, but like student movie terms, it's a solid budget.
Yeah.
Solid budget. Mm-hmm.
That's a good fundraiser.
I mean, hell, what didn't Kevin Smith make Clerks on like 10 grand or something ridiculously tiny?
Oof, I'm not sure on that one, but it sounds
Yeah.
about right though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's what. Yeah.
we'll have our producer run the numbers on that one. She'll take care of that for us.
I'm always looking for her, kind of like when you look at the gas pump at the station, because you always forget which one it is.
Yep.
But she's just not there.
Not there. We'll get the numbers eventually. Yeah.
At some point, she'll go from idea to actual person, but for now, she's not looking at me. Anyway, so yeah, so they round the money up. They enlist some of their friends from film school, and they basically film this over the course of one of their breaks, and some of their friends from film school who would actually join them on this would all say, "Yeah, we filmed this movie, but we all failed the film class because of it."
Oh, I mean, worth it. That's fine. It's just like what? That was probably like what, 3 credits at most? Fucking fine. Yeah. You can make that up.
Yeah. What's the worst that can happen, right? But the worst that would happen was that these guys would get into fights the entire time during the production.
Oh.
They would try to cross a river for a shot during the movie, and half of them would almost drown. And then Trey Parker himself would split his hip getting thrown from one of the 16 horses they used to film the movie.
Ooh.
Yeah. They barely almost resort to actual cannibalism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
it was the next logical step. Mm-hmm. Oh,
and some real method acting.
Yep. Producers looking at me, put a sign up next to the glass. Clerks was $27,575 is what they made that movie on.
Yeah, less than The Room.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, The Room. Oh my God.
Oh, we got time for The Room. Don't you worry.
Mm-hmm. We'll get there. We'll circle back to that.
Yeah. Well, in true Trey Parker and Matt Stone fashion, the story of Alfred Packer, as they would call him, his name is actually Alfred Packer, but Trey Parker at this point in time, his longtime girlfriend actually like split up with him.
Ooh.
Like during the time that they were working on this movie. So he just basically goes, okay, this sucks. He throws all of his effort into this film. And so he symbolizes the relationship between him and his horse in the movie to mirror that of this betrayal of his girlfriend, right?
Well, I mean, you should be honored by that a little bit, right? Like you're commemorated to film. That's something.
Yeah,
I would say,
like...
yeah. Go ahead, Chelsea. Yeah. Well, I would say she would be honored if it weren't for the fact that they did have a special like behind the scenes track from the commentary of all the folks that were in the film.
Oh.
Where they literally just trash this poor woman named Leanne who Trey Parker was dating at the time, and the horse is named after, of course. And they trash this poor woman as they're progressively getting drunk on this track. So yeah, she's probably not too happy with them after that point. But yeah, it's a funny film though, dude. Even for it being 93, it would get picked up by Troma Films. So if you remember on just our episode with Idiocracy,
mm-hmm.
Edward actually worked for Troma Films, right?
Yeah.
So he worked for them.
Sully remembers.
Sully, yeah, yep. Sullivan was right there during that conversation. So, yeah. Troma Films would actually pick up the movie. I think right around like 1996. I want to say. I think they bought it for like $1 million, and they've been distributing it ever since. So that's why it even got in front of me, because I picked up like I think they had like the 13th anniversary edition of the DVD came out. For some reason, 13 was like the year to release it.
All right.
But yeah, Troma would release it. They would put it in what's called their Tro Masterpiece collection, and they would say it's the best movie they've ever distributed. So yeah, for those of you that are not quite sure if you want to watch this one, I would definitely say it's worth at least one viewing if you're a Trey Parker and Matt Stone fan.
I mean, it's certified Tro Masterpiece, so why not?
Well, a couple of quick hits about this, and then we can move on to some of the more spirited movies that y'all are familiar with. Couple pieces of trivia pop up in this movie that both movie buffs and fans of Alfred Packer ended up liking. So Trey Parker didn't actually go by his name in this movie. His credited name is Juan Schwartz. And after Alfred Packer was basically found to have eaten these people, he actually ran off to Wyoming and was there for several years under the name John Schwartz.
Oh.
And so, yeah, so Trey Parker did a play on words with that, of course, and had a fun time doing that. So I always thought it was funny because the first time I watched this film, I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, who's Juan Schwartz? And so had to dig behind the scenes for that. But yeah, otherwise, some other trivia pieces from this movie that were kind of funny. Mm-hmm. They enlisted their film school teachers to also help. So their film school teachers acted in this movie. One of them would actually go on to play the sushi chef in Orgazmo. So he would show up in both movies. So definitely in an act of love here. But to kind of round it out, if you guys remember Squeak from Baseketball.
Mm-hmm.
So Dean Bahar, who was one of their friends from film school, this is where he would kind of jump on that train and then be featured in every one of their live action films from that point on. So yeah, don't want to give away the whole film, but it's
which unfortunate for Squeak, because I'm sure he was hoping for an Adam Sandler sort of film employment where the same 4 people are in all of his movies, and then go ahead and get to the point yeah, guys, you just fuck off. We're not making movies anymore. TV's better. Poor Squeak.
Well, it's unfortunate, but it's kind of what happened here. But one last thing about trivia, and then we'll move on. Joe, you mentioned about building a snowman. Which
yes.
They do at one point in this movie. It's a kind of a cool nod to what would be an Easter egg that shows up in South Park. At one point during this snowman building, they pan out from the snowman that looks like a normal one. And when they pan out from the screen, the snowman becomes an alien. Just like the alien.
That's hilarious.
Just like the aliens. Yep. Just like the ones you'd see in the background.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So these guys have been doing this for a lot longer, Joe, than we give them credit for. This kind of stuff would be jokes they're making for just decades. So but yeah, so anyway, you can tell I have a bit of a relationship with this movie. I've watched it more times than I'm comfortable with admitting. But yeah, made in film school, and it's still running strong, guys, almost 30 years later. So, but yes, that brings us to everybody's favorite movie, Orgazmo.
Yes, we all remember where we were the day we promised our fathers we wouldn't ever use hamster style ever again.
They could smell that newspaper.
Which, oh my god, I fucking love that scene so much. I'll never use it again. Just the flashback. Hey, Dad, I think I'll use hamster style again. Okay, son.
Yeah.
That's it. It was a promise I made.
Oh my god, and that's why Orgazmo was so funny to me, because obviously you could tell this was a film that people did not want to see the light of day. It's not meant to be consumed by the
average movie
no, not at all, so it was actually funny after the Alfred Packer the musical. So Trey Parker, Matt Stone, Dean Bahar, a couple of the other guys that were attached to this, they would actually head out to LA in hopes of making it big.
LA.
Yes.
LA.
Just like LA. They have great tacos in LA.
Dude, Tommy Wiseau's got an apartment there, Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's where everybody goes. That's what ended up happening. These guys would move out to LA. They would struggle. Matt Stone was actually sleeping on dirty laundry because he couldn't afford a mattress.
Ooh.
That's how bad it got. Now, if y'all know the name David Zucker, are you familiar with that name at all?
I am aware of Zuckerman's favorite pig, famous pig, but I am that David Zucker is escaping me.
No, I'm not
That's okay.
familiar.
That's okay, guys. That's not a problem at all. One of the most well-known David Zucker films would be Airplane with an exclamation mark.
Airplane.
Yes. And so during this time, Trey Parker had always been involved in the like the paper animation, right? He had done that as a kid, he'd done it as a teenager, and then he had worked with that same style to make animation when he moved out to LA too. It's just something he kept kind of refining and getting better at. David Zucker ends up meeting him or seeing his work, and so this relationship would form, and he would actually enlist Trey Parker and Matt Stone to create what's called Your Studio and You, which is actually you can find it, it's out there. It's basically supposed to be like one of those like 1950s training videos, and it occurred when it occurred, I can't remember what liquor company it was, but basically this liquor company purchases Universal, and so David Zucker needs him to, like, you guys need to make this this training video for us so that we can celebrate the purchase. And so, like, Trey Parker and Matt Stone were literally directing Sylvester Stallone, Steven Spielberg, Demi Moore, and a whole bunch of other celebrities in this training video to kind of showcase during the acquisition party.
Wow.
So yeah, so that like so this is one of their early projects that, yeah, once again, you can go out there and find it. And this is starting to begin that process of Trey Parker and Matt Stone hating working with actors, because like they said it was like the most painful experience of their lives having to direct these people.
Were they all just prima donnas sort of thing?
I mean, dude, you're a college student telling Steven Spielberg what to do. Pretty stressful, I would imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be just right up there with installing his electricity to make sure it wouldn't go out in a storm, so he could have his daiquiri machine, which we all know that in a hot tub, man has his priorities and he knows what he wants and he's gonna get it. Sly Stallone, Miami's his second home.
Yep. Water's so clear you can see to the bottom.
$100,000 cars, everybody got them.
Well, this would get Trey Parker and Matt Stone noticed. And by who, you would ask? Kuki, a studio that would create Japanese pornography.
I mean, that's a logical step. That happens.
That's where you want to be noticed, right?
Exactly. I mean, if not hentai, where do you want to be? It's anime and it's an art form, okay? We don't judge on this podcast.
You wanna watch tentacles? You go be my guest. Well, yeah. So these folks from this Kuki, like KUKI, the Japanese pornography, they would end up hearing the name Trey Parker and Matt Stone, and what they saw was an opportunity for them was to bring Japanese porn stars and feature them in this movie as a way of almost mimicking what Major League Baseball did when they brought Japanese baseball players from their league to the American leagues, right? It was the same type of idea.
It's brilliant.
Why didn't we think of it sooner?
Yeah, this makes total sense to me. Like, way to go, Japan, even have that on your radar in the first place. Like, oh, hey, look at these crazy American bastards out here making a movie about pornography. That's not actually porn. Let's get our guys in there.
I mean, forward thinking is the best way I could put that. They're so far ahead of the curve. Yeah. So what better way to do it than to grab these two guys? Oddly enough, if I remember correctly, there was another actor they wanted to have play this role. The main character's name would be Joe Young, played by Trey Parker, of course.
No, of course.
Now, in our side stitch, we actually talk about some of the inspirations behind, the Book of Mormon, and oddly enough, that same idea would live in Orgazmo, in 1997. Almost 15 years before that Broadway musical would get made. So, yeah, you've got this struggling Mormon missionary in LA trying to spread the word of God, and
goes into
backs
porn.
backs his way into pornography.
Okay.
Not hard to do, I've heard.
I mean, I imagine that's just what happens when you go to LA. You get off the plane and they're like, hey, you want to meet a porno? And you're like, yeah, sure, why not? You only
I
live
literally
twice.
can't book anything else, so yeah.
Yeah, works for me. I'll try anything twice, guys. Let's do this.
I like how you say guys, because
I assume that industry is run by men. Like
well,
most things. I don't know. It's Hollywood. Like it's all dudes. Like, I don't know. I got nothing. It's just dudes in Hollywood. Given my understanding of how movies work, it's just dudes at the top of the list of everything. I'm not saying it's right or it's good. I'm just saying that's what happens. Fucking dudes.
I mean, you're not wrong. Let's just say that you're not wrong. Where I was going to go with this was actually telling people what Orgazmo truly gave us, and I'm not just talking about obviously the pornographic elements of this film and two legendary characters in Joe Hung and Chota Boy, but
great plays on the
name.
Was
also played by Dian Bahar, by the way. Yes, Dian Bahar would come from Alfred Packer the musical and make his way over to Orgazmo.
Yes,
but we would end up getting music made specifically by Trey Parker and Matt Stone for this film under their band name DVDA, which I won't tell you what that stands for. Y'all can look that up.
Google that one, but
don't Google image search that one.
No,
don't. Just look up like the Urban Dictionary. But DVDA would give us one of the most legendary songs of all time, "Now You're a Man," which is the theme song to the movie. I love that song. It's so awesomely bad. Joe's laughing right now. You can't see this. And I can't see Chelsea at all because she doesn't have a camera. But "Now You're a Man," it is like the funniest fucking song you've ever heard. I mean, you can't take it seriously. It's sung by Trey Parker in his like classic singing, like it's not a serious singing voice, right? God, I love that song.
With that Only a Woman gets the same thing with me too from him, from Team America, which we'll get to in a bit. But yeah.
Oh my God. You know what? I actually want to know, when did you guys actually see this movie? Like what? I mean, how did you guys encounter this one?
I saw it in high school. I saw it with friends away from parents.
I saw it for the first time in college, probably in a small dorm room with like 5 people stuffed onto a futon.
That sounds about right.
Hiding open cans of beers from the RA.
Yeah, that's it. Because you had to, because you lived on specifically like the no alcohol floor of the dorm.
That I did.
Yes, you did.
Not by choice.
Nope. That's that was fate, I believe.
Yeah.
Speaking of fate, this movie, just the stuff that we've talked about in just a few minutes here, like how this came together, I still don't get it. I don't understand how this could possibly happen, but the strangest stars aligned for this movie to take place. And so I don't know, it's you're kind of sensing a pattern here that these movies, they're not meant to be widespread consumed. And so just like Alfred Packer the musical or Cannibal the musical, they're cult movies. They're ridiculous. They've got ridiculous premises behind them. But once again, I'm going to stamp this as essential viewing, damn it. What do you guys think?
Oh yeah.
No, it's, I don't know, like how you say, it's I think I have like a lot of respect for them as filmmakers, just when they know like, hey, we're not making this movie for everyone, and we almost don't even care if it's successful. We're making it because we want to make it, and for that reason alone, like, you should watch it, like, because when you've got filmmakers who literally don't care what's like how their message is gonna be like actually like thought of or like taken, like, no, we're just fucking doing it, just do it. Like it's freedom when they're doing that, and it's pure expression of what they want out there. In this case, the pure expression was to make you laugh for all like the worst possible fucking reasons. So yeah, you should definitely watch this movie.
I love it just because of the exchange between this Latin actor named Sancho, and they're doing like this, this interview with him when he walks in to meet the porno director, and he sits down and he's like, so what do you do? And he goes, my name is Sancho. And he goes, okay, but what do you do? And he goes, many other people, they are not Sancho. I am Sancho. And I'm like, hire this guy.
Yep, get him. No, actually, I have a coworker that I call him. I refer to him as my Sancho, but I also specifically say from Don Quixote, not Orgazmo. And then what's also great is because I work with a bunch of teachers who are all like really nice, like great people. They're like, we know Don Quixote. What the hell is Orgazmo? I'm like, oh, okay, never mind. It's just me. I didn't have to make that clarification, but
that joke wasn't for you.
Just like that movie probably is not for you either.
Joseph,
I guess.
Can you please come to the principal's office?
Oh, that's my boss now. Like this is. I lose money when I get like told to go to the principal's office now. That's bad.
Yeah, it says here that you were trying to make a play called The Dentist. A lot of blood, scaring the kids.
Yep. Frowned upon. You should not do that.
We're gonna need you to dial it back.
Yeah. So like when you say frowned upon and dial back, like it means it's still okay, but like you're just like you're gonna let it happen, but you're just like not the happiest with it. Oh, don't fucking do it. That's what you meant? Okay.
Oh,
all right.
Okay.
Gotcha now.
Okay.
Yep. Glad we had this talk.
Yeah, those meetings always start off with, hey, look, you're a great guy. Okay. You're just
oh my God. So now I'm either getting fired or broken up with. Oh, like this is basically like, hey, I had this idea to do this play about a dentist, and it's gonna be great. There's gonna be a lot of blood. And then the principal just goes, I love that for you, but for the school, maybe we steer this way instead.
Well, and that's where be a perfect moment to use one of the quotes from this movie is in that moment when you're embarrassed or you feel really weird, that's when you just yell out stunt cock. And then a dude walks in and just says, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? I mean, that was burned into my mind after watching this movie. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, since the main character played by Trey Parker is a Mormon missionary, he doesn't actually do any of the up close shots. I'll be as least descriptive as I can. And so during those moments, they stop the entire production and they just yell out stunt cock. And this guy comes walking out just saying, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing?
It's not Sancho either.
This whole part.
That's not Sancho.
No, that's not Sancho.
It's not Sancho.
Yes. But our journey continues. We're moving away from pornography. And we're going into a film that definitely splits some people down the middle, as all of these films have done so far. And of course, we're talking about 1998's Baseketball.
Yeah. I mean, I was a fan, and that mostly just because it had a Real Big Fish cameo, and who's not going to be excited about some ska making their way into the movie? We all had a ska phase. We know it. If you're not okay to admit it, I have a group. Like we meet on like Thursdays. You just come right in. It's a trust tree of just close people who had a ska phase. You don't even have to say it, but we know you had it because you're there at the meeting.
Makes sense.
Yep.
So, which, if I remember correctly, that the dancing that they do to Big Fish or Real Big Fish was called skanking. Isn't that the term?
I think skanking is the term there. Yeah, you skanked out when you skad.
Good Lord. Well, yeah. So once again, we've talked about Zucker giving these guys a shot in Hollywood, right? That was like their connection, their endpoint. Well, he would do the same thing with Baseketball, and it wouldn't be right away though. Chris Farley would actually be like the first choice for playing the main character, Joe Cooper, in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
He of course he wisely turns it down. I say wisely, but God, I love this movie.
Fun movie. Oh my God, this was great. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which yeah, just to kind of poll both of you here, are you familiar with the origin of basketball? And I'm not talking the movie. I just mean basketball as a sport.
No. Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm. I assumed it was just made up for the movie because I mean, is it like how it is in the movie where it's like they're just in their driveway because they have limited space and they just decided to make a new game because they're broken
Honestly,
in LA?
It's an actual sport that director David Zucker created,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of in the same vein of what you saw the main characters doing in this movie. It's like we want to make a sport that we can play better than people who are more talented athletically than us. But yeah, dude, David Zucker, the director, would actually create basketball as a sport. It was played by his friends. They played it in their driveways. And some of the teams that you see in the movie who represent the rest of the league that play basketball, these are actual friends of David Zucker who played the sport with him.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, he brings them into the movie. So who would like to explain how basketball is played?
Before we get to that, I would just like to imagine that all these basketball players came in thinking that this was going to somehow like skyrocket their career as basketball players. Like, yeah, they go up to the bar, they've got their cool jackets that they've made themselves. Like, hey, you know that basketball movie, right?
Oh,
I played
God,
it.
I was in that.
and the National League is born.
I was gonna say, if they play basketball, that guy fucks.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. But okay. So before I steered us out of there, what direction were we headed in?
So who wants to explain how the game of basketball is played?
Okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't volunteering. I just said okay. Chelsea, let's holy roller this together.
Okay. Well, so basketball is a combination of baseball and basketball and binge drinking.
Yep. That third part is basically the Holy Trinity is what completes that. Yep, integral that you're drinking. So the way it works is you've got bases set up in your driveway or eventually stadium when the sport gets big enough.
When you get your team off the ground, obviously.
Exactly. And you have baseball-like jerseys that you wear with like basketball shorts, sort of thing. So you can see the nice combo of the two sports together. And I think it's like you don't call out your shot like home run, single, double, etc. Like, is it like the further you shoot away from the basket is what you're making? I'm trying to remember if that's how it's played.
Yep, you're almost dead on. So how it's set up is that there's specific parts in the field where if you make your basket from, it like basically counts as a base, right? So the closer you are to the hoop counts as a single. If you're at like where like the free throw line ish would be, that's a double. A little bit further would be a triple, and then obviously, you know, if you sink the downtown shot, that's the home run.
Yeah, and then there is the all important. I think is it psych out or fake out?
Yeah.
Trying to remember exactly how they phrase it.
Yes,
psych out or fake out, one of the two.
Is it psych out? I think it is psych out.
It's the 90s, so psych out would make sense. Yeah, but basically,
we weren't quite at like extreme.
No
exports. No, this is the 90s. Come on.
This is before that, before X got really popular. Although this is, I don't know, this is on the hinge of extreme because remember, this is also the same time that like all the cartoons had extreme, like Extreme Ghostbusters came out that time. You just slapped extreme on things to market it to the kids. But yeah, so back to the game of basketball.
Street Sharks.
Oh, fucking! I mean, how would you not buy it? Vin Diesel is selling you these Street Sharks, and I think he had them eat toy turtles in his little trailer that he made, his commercial for he made for it too. But yeah, so basketball was kind of fun. That you had the person who stepped to the plate trying to shoot the varying distance to see where they would end up on the plate on the bases. And the person who's basically like in the pitcher position for what would be considered baseball, they can like do whatever they want to try and like make the guy shooting like fuck up his shot. They can wear masks, they can make noises, they can
shit talk.
They can shit talk. They could probably just take a shit right in front of you. Like, it's all legal. All of it's fine. Everything's on the table here to try and mess you up.
They can lactate somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Because that happens.
Men can lactate. You can milk anything with nipples, Mark.
Can you milk me, fucker?
Yeah,
well. Oh, God.
I've got to say, the timing of when this movie was even made, like it shouldn't have been allowed to get made. The only reason why Trey Parker and Matt Stone even did the movie was because they thought South Park was going to get canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they did the film. Mm-hmm. And they didn't realize that, holy shit, South Park's actually successful and people like it.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to actually film and do photography for the movie in the daytime and then work on South Park at night the entire time they made this.
Oh, shit. Oh, man. That's a lot. Holy crap.
Yeah. These guys didn't sleep for like a year. and oddly enough, okay, so we talked about Dian Bahar a couple times here, right? Mm-hmm. The guy that plays, Squeak. Originally, Squeak wasn't even meant to be in the film. Like, he was not even a character. Yeah. And so even in this sleep-deprived state that they were in, Trey Parker and Matt Stone were able to like give a lot of creative decision-making, to Zucker and the team. And obviously that comes through in this movie. Mm-hmm. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but this has got them and their humor all over it.
Oh, completely.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're expecting to be corrected, that did not happen on the side of the table. Like, no, you are right.
You're wrong.
Yeah.
Well, either way, this movie is, for a couple of reasons, I find it absolutely hilarious because of who they were able to get involved with it. I'm not sure if you guys remember the names Robert Vaughn and Ernest Borgnine at all.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Robert Vaughn, like literally starred in the original Magnificent Seven. Well, I say the original, but the first iteration.
Yeah, not Seven Samurai, but Magnificent Seven. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and so there's some serious actors that are in this movie. And obviously the premise is so ridiculous that it's hard to believe it even saw the light of day, but goddamn, is it funny.
Mm-hmm.
And it also brings us Scatman John again. Seriously.
Yeah, which you can't, I don't know. You can't get the Scatman enough. You just can't. Fucking
no.
Yeah, national icon is what that man is.
Well,
clearly two of us are passionate of the Scatman on this podcast. Chelsea, have you heard the Scatman?
I haven't.
Oh, well, I know we're done recording.
There is an excellent part of this movie where they use Scatman John. It's a nice little montage when Trey Parker and Matt Stone's characters make it big playing basketball. They sell out. Mm-hmm. And it's a pretty fun little exchange.
Montage.
A montage.
Oh my god. Yeah, actually that reminds me of something. Basketball had a lot of early South Park in it. Because because Trey Parker, does the Cartman voice.
Yeah.
And then he also does the Mr. Garrison voice in here. I think
I remember the Garrison scene. When did he do the Garrison one?
Yeah, it's specifically he says, Joe Cooper doesn't care about kids. and just stuck with me ever since. So I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah, obviously we've already mentioned the Cartman voice. Mm-hmm. And then the creation of the word derp that would carry into South Park.
Mm-hmm.
Like this movie is credited with creating the word derp. Ooh. Which I wouldn't say it was as prolific as like Bling or
but Merriam-Webster definitely took notice of it.
Or it pissed off a scholar who's like, what is this fucking derp word? But yeah.
Add this to the dictionary because he rewrites the dictionary every year. They make a new one. He rewrites the whole thing.
True.
He doesn't just add stuff to it. He's like, I fucking have to tell you, I derp to this now. Just angry over there, Mr. Webster.
The last thing I wanted to say about this movie, because we're very careful about spoilers, even though this I think it doesn't matter what we say about this film, you're still going to enjoy it, I think. But as a little call out to the state of Wisconsin, the UPN affiliate who is covering the Baseketball coverage, okay, like it is WCGV Channel 24. Based out of Milwaukee. I mean, the Milwaukee Bears was the team they played on, and there are some movies who can't get these types of details correct. Somehow, this movie did. I don't know how they pulled that off. It's just ridiculous.
Which I also love that they're the Milwaukee Bears because our baseball team is the Brewers. So we're just gonna go ahead and lean into it. Like we drink a lot in this state. We'll just name the baseball team after the thing that we enjoy a lot, and then basketball just doesn't skip a beat.
Which I don't know if it's a good idea for folks to peruse the list of basketball teams that they had in this movie.
Well, I mean, of the other things you've brought up, like, is this the worst thing that you're going to run into tonight? Probably not.
We didn't make the list.
No, we didn't make the list. Like, you can't blame us. And really,
it's true.
If you make the mistake of like image searching DVD-A, that's the worst thing you're going to find tonight. Easily, hands down. There's nothing worse than that. Which I'm not saying do it, but that is the worst thing you're going to find tonight.
There are a couple of these that I thought were kind of funny though, because we've got the Dallas Felons, we've got the Detroit Lemons, the Miami Dealers. There's the New Jersey Informants, and and the Roswell Aliens. So I mean,
that one's innocent. That one's cute.
Yeah, I will not go into any of the other ones because I'm not trying to get murdered. Some of these other ones are just they didn't age well, but these other ones are pretty safe. So yeah, you know what? As far as the legacy of basketball goes, though, what do y'all think about that?
I mean, it's like we're watching it, from our couches anymore. Not the movie, but like the sport. It's not like how every year ESPN actually does the Ocho on us. So like he goes, it's still a fun movie. Like, I mean, it's definitely gonna have things like you said that just didn't age well about it. But I mean, basically like a buddy movie. So like if like I don't know, like any movie that focuses around two best friends, like just doing something based off of their friendship, like it's better than Crossroads.
Yeah. Anyone can be good at sports.
Yeah, especially ones you make up.
Right. I don't know. I think it's fun for us too because it does kind of have that hometown feel. We don't get a ton of recognition out here in Milwaukee, So it's nice to see it in some, I don't know.
Yeah, in some capacity, because like even like in Major League, Bob Uecker was there, but he's for the Indians. It's like, come on, like you're using our announcer guy. You can't even have the movie be about the Brewers. Sick burn.
And somehow they got Al Michaels, Bob Costas, Kenny Mayne. Like they got some pretty big,
got some big sports names. Yeah.
So for a film that obviously not a whole lot of people went to go see, I think there's still a lot of value in it. I mean, it's just like what you said there. For some of the crude humor that Trey Parker and Matt Stone put into their properties, there still are some positive takeaways that you could actually get from them. But one thing I do want to leave off with here is a pretty funny thing about this movie and just how movies are shot in general. Yasmin Bleeth, who plays the romantic interest of Trey Parker in this movie, the first shot that she actually was involved with in this movie is when they're in the locker room and they're
that was her first shot of the movie. That
was the first one.
Hi, welcome.
Yeah. and their dicks are literally hanging all the way to the floor.
Oh
And
my
that's-
gosh.
And that was the tone setter for her appearing in this movie. Like,
Yeah, you know what this movie's about. I
Mhm.
mean,
Well, okay then. This is also right up there with pre-anti-vax Jenna McCarthy laying carpet down
oh
in that
yes,
movie.
and polishing trailer hitches.
Yep.
With her, yeah. They didn't pull any punches, did they?
Oh, wait, they did not. No. Like, oh, to be an actress in that movie again did not age well in that respect.
Well, or to be Dean Bahar, you know, right away when they invite his character to live at them in their house, and they give him he thinks he's gonna get like the couch to sleep on, and instead he's got a cardboard box with like a hand towel hanging off of it. And he's like, that is fucking weak.
Oh my god.
God, I wish Dean Bahar was in more stuff, because man, three movies with him that honestly I love seeing him on screen. I mean, he's got some of the funniest parts in Orgazmo, and yeah, either way, I'm just happy they gave him the platform.
They gave him a shot.
Yep, but we round out our journey here.
Yes.
With a good old movie called Team America.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, do you remember what we were like as a nation back in 2004? You know what?
Oh.
Does anybody want to take a shot at that?
I mean, this is the year I graduated high school. We're a confident nation at that time. We have no qualms over how we spend our money in any capacity. It's like, no, just throw our money at the problem. That'll solve everything.
Money and nukes.
Money and nukes, right? Yeah. That's how we do. That's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
this is the same year we formed the coalition of the willing, isn't it?
I'm not sure. Yeah, this movie though, I don't know if it gets made in any other era, because I mean, Toby Keith is out there, you know, screaming into microphones and doing his thing.
Yep.
You know, and we've already kind of talked about this this week already with, you know, That's My Bush, and the and the inspiration for Trey Parker and Matt Stone going to see a Broadway play to get, you know, like functional knowledge for how to make this movie. So one of the things I found funny about Trey Parker and Matt Stone wanting to do puppetry for this. Do you guys remember the British TV show Thunderbirds?
Oh yes. I recall. Thunderbirds are a go. That's not the theme. I just did that because I needed to make music right now. But yeah, it's like a team of what, like a secret government organization to tackle worldwide problems. They have these very like futuristic, they're just very advanced vehicles. But I mean, they look like fucking rocket ships and jeeps.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's all marionettes. It's all puppetry for that show.
Just a whole lot of cold, dead eyes.
Yeah, that are going to solve all the world's problems, because Britain does that fabulously.
Yeah.
Because if you own the world, there are no problems.
Well, Trey Parker and Matt Stone would be watching Thunderbirds one night. God knows what's keeping them up late watching it. But here they are watching Thunderbirds, and they go, we really fucking hate this show. So what do they do?
About it.
Let's make a movie about fucking puppets because we hate them so bad. Yeah. And so they kind of sat on this for a little bit. This idea of what's called, you know, super marionation, right? The idea of taking marionettes and doing a wide scale production with them. Well,
so is there such thing as like, is there like a thing as like super claymation then? Because I feel like that's downplaying the brilliance that was claymation. Because that's almost not fair. Like, because like with the claymation, you didn't have like a half-ass. Not everything was Mr. Bill, and Mr. Bill, as far as claymation goes, lowbrow fun, meant to be that way. But like, you look at like, you know, all the Christmas films of our childhood. That's all claymation from start to finish. I don't think they call it. Chicken Run. They didn't call it
Chicken Run.
They didn't call it super like Wallace and Gromit. Those two? Yeah.
Yes.
That's not super claymation. Like, what the hell, marionettes? What the fuck is your, like, what's up your ass? Yeah,
Maybe
like,
it's just
hey,
the UK, man.
maybe. Yeah.
Seriously. Because they brought us Thunderbirds. Now we're talking about claymation. It's like they cornered the market on these things.
Yeah, and for my love of that island, I'm not sure why I'm so mad at them right now to be like, hey, fucking Super Mario Nation, who are you?
Maybe it's Super Mario Nation because we're not sitting around like an old-timey box with a weird dude on the other side telling us a story.
Maybe, yeah. Since we're not in like a town square.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
And we're not all dying of the Black Plague.
Yeah, that's pretty. Like, I think that I am like Chelsea. You sold me. That's the idea. That's exactly what happened.
Pretty sure that's what happened.
Yeah, they were like, "Hey, this is like when that bloke used to come out and he'd do the marionette thing, except it's the whole bloody production. So it's like a super marionettation instead of just a marionettation." And that's the worst British accent you've heard in a long time. You're welcome.
Yeah,
I was going to say, instead of being in the UK, he's in Australia. But that's...
yeah.
And he's clearly been
used to be in the
basketball.
UK, but I got sent to prison and they sent me here. Yeah.
Wait, was that a little Boston? What's
I don't know. I'm
right
sliding
now?
all over the place. I need to stop.
It was like an audible seizure that I got to hear as it entered each chamber of the brain.
Now, what happened is, as I was trying to do the accent, there's actually like an electronic control for that, and the producer's just sliding the scale, just fucking with everyone. Like, we're gonna put him right here.
The producer's British and they're pissed off and just trying to make you sound like an idiot.
Which really should not take a whole lot of effort on their part.
Yeah, it's a frequency that's being played at Fox News and only Joe can hear. And Tony, it's happening again. What's happening?
What do you mean play us out?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the wind, okay, honey? It's not the wind. Jeez, that would be a confusing marriage.
But I mean, back to marionettes. I mean, that just causes lots of problems for them because I know they've definitely been public about saying how like they will never fucking do anything with marionettes again because unlike working on South Park where you want the paper to do something, the paper does it. But when you try doing something with the marionette, it just doesn't always do what you want it to do, and it's infuriating.
Damn you, gravity.
Well, funny thing here. So they hate Thunderbirds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Trey Parker and Matt Stone love to make fun of people, so it actually caused them to
never.
Well,
they wouldn't do that.
They got wind that a Thunderbirds production was going to be made, and Jonathan Frakes was attached to it.
Oh yes, William Riker himself.
Yes, fuck everything in space, William Riker. They said, well, if he's going to make it, we got to do something to make fun of that. But then they realized that Jonathan Frakes was actually attached to a live action Thunderbirds and not a marionette production. So they're like, yep, fuck it. We got to do the puppets then. Let's do it.
We've already signed up. We're this far into it. We have to commit to the joke. We can't give up and change it now.
That's seriously what it probably was. It's like we're this far in. We just got to keep going.
Yep.
You know,
they've made the marionettes in their tiny clothing. We have to go. We have to keep doing it.
Oh my god, dude! Like that was the part of this I think kind of got Trey Parker and Matt Stone completely out of doing movies because, yeah, marionettes, a nightmare. Mm-hmm. They had a timeline that they had to work with, and so you can imagine the difficulties with working with puppets. Like it just kept extending, like how long it took them to make this. But then they decided we want to have a very graphic puppet sex scene that we just do not want to get away from. Which the Screen Actors Guild like fought them on a ton and said, yeah, this is an NC-17 movie and it will not be rated R unless you make some very specific concessions. And so I think they had to recut the sex scene something like either 10 or 15 times for it to be considered acceptable.
Was this also the reason they changed the Screen Actors Guild to the Film Actors Guild in the movie?
That is most likely correct.
Which if you can connect those dots together as a listener. But one of the best parts of the Film Actors Guild was definitely, in my opinion, to this day, the best spot-on impersonation of Matt Damon ever seen on film.
Oh yes.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. Yeah. Oh, it's so funny. I mean, I don't even know when like Trey Parker and Matt Stone started hating on Matt Damon, because it kind of like blindsided me when I saw this movie.
Yeah, it's like, what did Matt Damon do?
What did Matt Damon ever do to anyone?
I don't know.
I don't know. You know, like
whatever he did,
Jimmy
we're sure glad he did.
Yeah, because I mean, it was in this movie. He had that thing with Jimmy Kimmel, like a back and forth with him for a while. But that was definitely more fun, lighthearted back and forth. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they got Jimmy Kimmel's, then girlfriend Sarah Silverman involved.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really a fun thing. But
yep.
But yeah, they definitely did not hold back making fun of actors in this movie, world leaders at that point in time, because it is a time capsule for early 2000s, world politics.
Yep.
Not just being a satire of America, but a satire of everything else kind of going on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go back and watch this movie, like, I'm not trying to say that this is a political thing that people need to be writing about in history books. Not by any means. But for a film by these guys, obviously I laugh at every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And what better way to crack up than to listen to their AIDS song in the very beginning, making fun of Rent.
Mm-hmm. Oh man.
Oh my. But yeah, obviously crude. Very crude.
Very crude.
But
which only a woman cracks me up every time I listen to that. Which again it's basically meant to be like a country-based love song about how basically only the love of a woman can really fulfill the singer. And the part that like hits every single fucking time with me where I just lose it is at the very end of the song, where they've gone over like this 10 seconds of singing literally only a woman over and over again, and then it gets really silent and quiet, and they just go, or a man, and then it's just over. Oh man.
This is funny how we can kind of tie all this together, but their montage song also appears in this movie.
Yep.
And so, like, I don't know, in a lot of ways, man, their film journey here, some of the music that they would create would be timeless and just just hilarious. Now, I'm not going to say like any of the Cannibal the musical like songs, like they're I don't mind them. I think they're pretty funny. The Spadoinkle Day one is hilarious. But I mean, yeah, like the Orgazmo, Now You're a Man. You just talked about your favorites. I mean, you take what you will from these movies, but I mean, the music has been strong throughout their live action films. Oh my God. But ultimately, the time period that Trey Parker and Matt Stone made movies was, pretty specific. I mean, we're talking, I mean, that
late 90s, early 2000s area. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're talking 11 years at best. So we've obviously talked about legacy a couple times here with their live action movies, but what are our takeaways from the movies that y'all took away personally?
Well, like, really, if you look at them, they definitely mirror their humor at the time. Like, if you compare South Park now to how South Park started in the late 90s and even into the early 2000 seasons, it's toilet humor. It's crude. It's meant to be that. And because that's what was funny to them. And there's a lot of that mirrored in their movies. It's not like, I don't know, it's not highbrow humor, if such a thing actually exists, because humor is subjective anyway. But like, it's definitely like, unapologetically lowbrow humor in their movies. And at the same time, like, there are definitely times like I feel like I don't know, I don't want to say like you need that kind of humor, but like there are definitely times where I don't want to think about how something's funny. Like I just want something just outright kind of stupid for me to laugh at, and that's what those movies did. Like they're dumb for the sake of being dumb. Like if anything, like maybe Team America had the most like meaning behind it. Like you said, it was just satirical, like U.S. foreign policy. So that had a lot of thought to like the script and what was going on with it. But I don't know, like it's simple humor, and there's nothing wrong with the type of humor that it is. I think the more interesting question is, if we look at these movies, how many of them can actually be made like today?
Not as many, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
yep.
A lot of the stuff they can't do that would probably never happen today. Even South Park, honestly,
Yeah.
would probably not happen today. But I don't know. While a lot of, for me, I think while a lot of these movies are toilet humor and it is kind of dumb, and that's why it's funny too. I think it's also, really they are also very smart though with how they weave in clever things behind the toilet humor as well too. It's like, yeah, I'm laughing at like, I don't know, like some boner joke or something like that, but then at the same time the movie is generally making some other kind of comment, either on like society or on foreign policy or on sports or on advertisements or cashing in and selling out. And it's just, I think it's just a comment on Trey Parker and Matt Stone and the people that they don't want to be. They don't want to be those sellouts. They want to remember where they came from. They want to keep doing the stuff that they've been doing, since 1997 or, like, or way back from the beginning. And I think that's why it's cool, because they are still doing stuff like that. And we love them for it.
We do. Absolutely, we do.
They gave us that nugget of knowledge in basketball too, that Shaq made all of his money in college, and had I known that, I would have paid a lot more attention, during my collegiate studies.
Yep. Hey guys, are there any other well-known Wisconsin cannibals? I wonder if we need another musical, because I'll do it. I mean, I am Joe. There are a lot of other people who are Joe, but no.
Think about what you just said. If you liked this episode, why not subscribe and leave a review? This critically helps the show to continue. The Google machine does something with them. We hope it's not nefarious.
Well, if you're a fan of Trey Parker and Matt Stone, don't worry. Part 2 of our exploration into their careers continues next week. There's no way that we could fit all of their TV and movie history into just one discussion. So stay tuned next week as we tackle the history of South Park and its evolution. And until next time, keep on dissecting.